Welcome everybody. We have a lot to cover today. I have a huge amount of content around pricing and around ChatGPT and how we can use that to change the way that we price. And also I'll mention a bit later how we can use that to help add value to our clients and help them. Before we dive into the basics of value pricing, before we dive into ChatGPT, I'll be doing some live demonstrations and showing you some practical things. Before we do that, just a bit of background about me in case you don't know who I am. So I'm a chartered accountant from the UK. I've been in this profession for over 30 years. It was 88, way back in 1988. Went to work for a large 8-partner firm in the UK, qualified as a chartered accountant after 3 years, and then spent the next few years specializing in their tax department, doing tax, became their corporation tax manager. And that was up until 1996. In 1996, I then decided to start my own accounting firm as a sole practitioner, had a spare bedroom, bought a desk, bought a computer, and set about growing a firm with no clients. And surprisingly, over the next 2 years, I went from 0 to over 200 clients. I went to probably in US dollars, close on $400,000 in fees in 2 years. And you would have been forgiven if you were from the outside looking in, thinking that I was a very successful accountant. The reality was, by the end of 1998, my life was a complete mess. I was working crazy hours, longer than I ever worked before, and I was struggling to make profit. Cash flow was a constant nightmare. I was growing way too fast, and it wasn't until the end of 99, I met a few people that changed my life. One of them was Steve Pipe in the UK, and another was one of your other speakers. In 1999, I met Ron Baker, and it was Ron Baker that told me about value pricing. I'd never heard of that. I'd grown up in the accounting profession believing that we had to keep timesheets and price based on the hour. And I discovered in 1999 that my big problem was I was pricing the wrong way. I was way too cheap. And so I implemented value pricing at the end of 99 in my accounting firm, and within 12 months, things changed very significantly. I also introduced business advisory services, and the combination of advisory, creating more value, and then pricing based on value changed my firm so fast that I then sold it a few years later to my client managers. They bought it from me, and I then went into business with Steve Pipe and for over a decade ran AVN in the UK. It was a network of accountants. And then I decided that I wanted to specialize in value pricing. And I wrote several books on value pricing over the years. My first one, published in 2011, was Effective Pricing for Accountants. I founded the Value Pricing Academy in 2014, and I've spent the last 10 years now, 10 years old, Value Pricing Academy, teaching accounting firms around the world how to master value pricing, how to implement it in their firms, how to create more value with their clients through advisory work, and also how to attract better quality clients. And so you might be thinking, why ChatGPT? Why am I talking about that? And that's because when I first came across it in early 2023, February 23, just shortly after version 3 was released to the public in November 2022. When I saw ChatGPT, I thought, wow, the world's going to change. This is, as ChatGPT likes to say, a game changer. It really is. And so I've been teaching prompt engineering ChatGPT for the last 18 months because it can make our lives so much easier and save hours and hours of time. So today, what we're going to cover is we're going to look really at two things. Firstly, what is value pricing? What are some of the foundations of value pricing? And then we're going to look at how can we use ChatGPT to help us to build pricing systems primarily for us in our accounting firms so we get better prices, make more money. But also I will mention a bit later as well that we can also use it to help our clients if we are offering an advisory service. Okay, I do have one question coming. I will be answering questions towards the end. So if you have got questions, put them in the Q&A box. We do have a chat box as well. But if you've got questions, stick them in the Q&A. I will get to them. Okay, let's dive in then with a little bit about some of the foundations of value pricing. And if I'm speaking fast, forgive me. I have so much content I want to share. We only have 45 minutes and I want to give you as much as I possibly can because this is powerful stuff. I know I won't get through everything, and so don't worry. I have a couple of links to share with you later on to some free resources, in particular a live session where I go even deeper on today's topic. So if you find today valuable, then there's some more stuff heading your way. I'll share the links in the chat very soon. Let's start off by talking about what is the single biggest myth about pricing. There are many, many myths about pricing. But if my aim for today is, if you were to take one thing away from today, is you need to put your prices up. You are too cheap. I found over the 20 odd years of working with accounting firms is that most accounting firms around the world, and all small accounting firms, are working long, crazy hours and not making enough money, which was me back in 1997, 1998. And the reason why we are working hard and not making enough money, the single biggest reason, is our pricing is wrong. We are too cheap. Outside the top four, I've not come across an expensive firm of accountants. We tend to be too cheap, and that's killing our margins, killing profits. So you need to put your price up. However, when I say put your prices up, and when I used to speak on the stage at big events and say that, I get a shocked reaction, and people would say to me, Mark, I can't do that. I can't put my prices up because my clients are price sensitive. And so when I used to run physical events, I'd say to the audience, give me a show of hands, put your hand up if you have price sensitive clients. And this forest of hands would go up. And I thought, that's interesting, because that is the single biggest myth about pricing in our profession. You do not have price-sensitive clients. And when I say that, people think I am mad. Mark, you do not understand my client base. But you don't. And the reason I can say that is because, yes, there are price-sensitive people in society. And estimates by price psychologists, behavioral economists estimate 20-30% of society is price sensitive. Yes, there are price sensitive people, but we have to understand that the definition of a price sensitive person is somebody who always buys the cheapest. And that's not your clients. Your clients are what's called value sensitive. That's what most people are. Most people are value sensitive. And what that means is that whereas a price sensitive person always looks to buy the cheapest, a value sensitive person looks at the value equation, which is simply we make a judgment as to, if I buy something, what is my perception of the benefit I will receive, and what is the cost to acquire that? Let's call it the price. And as long as there's a gap, and the bigger the gap between the benefit and the price, the more likely I am to buy. And price is just one part of the equation. It doesn't even have to be cheap as long as there's plenty of value. A value-sensitive person looks for value. They look for the profit on the deal. They look for the size of the gap. And that's, your clients are not price sensitive. Why can I say that? And that's because our clients in an accounting firm, our clients are not representative of the population as a whole. Your clients are a distinct part of the population. Your clients are business owners. They are entrepreneurs. They are high net worth individuals. And those sorts of people cannot be price sensitive. You cannot be price sensitive and run a successful business. It just doesn't work. And if you don't believe me, if you think about your clients right now, do any of your clients own a product from a company called Apple? Every client you have that owns an Apple iPhone or an iPad or a Mac computer, anybody that owns an Apple computer or an Apple product by definition cannot be price sensitive, because if they were, then they wouldn't buy those products, because there are cheaper phones, cheaper tablets, cheaper computers in the marketplace. Apple owners are not price sensitive, they are value sensitive. And therefore, every client of yours that has an Apple product cannot be price sensitive. If you think about your client's coffee buying habits, I know in Melbourne you're proud of your coffee, but in most parts of the world, a lot of people drink from places like Starbucks, Costa Coffee, which is a UK equivalent, Peet's, and these other expensive coffee chains. Anybody that buys from a coffee chain like Starbucks, again, by definition, cannot be price sensitive, because there are cheaper ways of getting your coffee fix. And yet most of our clients will happily go to Starbucks. The reality is your clients are not price sensitive, they are value sensitive, and that's something very different. And when we understand that, everything starts to change. Now, the reason why we often think that our clients are price sensitive is because at some point in the past, you've probably presented a price to a client or a prospective client, and they've said those words that we dread. Ooh, that's a bit expensive. And when we hear that, in our mind, we assume that means they must be price sensitive when they say that's expensive. And when we start hearing several people say that's expensive, in our minds we extrapolate and start to think everybody's price sensitive. So we have to understand, why do people say that's expensive? And it's not because you're expensive. The reason why somebody will say that's expensive when you present your price is because they don't understand the value. And that's really important. I'm going to share 3 critical things with you in a short while, and number 3 deals exactly with that. So that's the single biggest myth about pricing. You do not have price sensitive clients, they are value sensitive. So we need to change. We need to change the way we price. We need to focus on value. We need to make sure we adopt value pricing and not what we've been doing as a profession in the past, which is cost plus pricing. There are really only 2 ways to price: cost plus pricing and value pricing. Time-based billing is a form of cost plus pricing, and it's a crazy way to price for many reasons. I could give you lots of reasons as to why you must not cost plus price. The single biggest is that your clients hate it. Your clients hate it because when we buy anything, we want certainty as customers. We want certainty over the price. We want to know exactly what the price is right up front. And so we have to give a fixed price, and value pricing helps to do it. Now, value pricing is more important than ever. Ron's been talking about it since the 1990s when he wrote his first book. I've been teaching it since the year 2000 now. It's now more important than ever before. And the reason why we must embrace it and master it more than ever before is because of the change going on in the world right now. AI is coming thick and fast, and the world's changing. The profession's going to change very significantly over the next 3 years. I predict that by the year 2030, you will not be doing compliance work as you know it today. You won't be doing bookkeeping work because AI is going to replace that completely. The speed of change is extraordinary right now. And so what we're going to have to do over the next 3 years is figure out ways of creating more value for our clients. We're going to have to do different things because we're now in an increasingly AI-driven world. Business advisory will become more important than ever. We have to create value. And when it comes to our pricing, we must price based on the value. Why? Because AI is going to allow us to do things at a fraction of the time we used to do them before. For those firms that are clinging to time-based billing, they will find increasing downward pressure on price because the AI is going to do the work for them. We have to embrace value pricing because with AI, we can do some extraordinary things. We can create more value than ever before. Advisory work is so easy when we use tools like ChatGPT. We can do really powerful strategic planning with clients in a fraction of the time we used to, and yet the value is arguably greater than ever before because of the insights we can now deliver with the help of AI. If we're pricing based on time, we'll be giving that service away. If we're pricing based on value, we can build extraordinarily successful accounting firms. So before we get into the AI piece, let me talk about 3 steps to value pricing, and then we'll get into the ChatGPT stuff. So there are 3 things we have to do if we are going to really embrace value pricing. These are the 3 most important things. There are other things we can do along the way as we get more into the detail, but let me give you an overview if you have not yet fully embraced value pricing. What are the 3 things that you need to do? The first thing that you need to do is you need to create more value. If we're value pricing and we want to deliver more and we want to get higher prices, we want to create more value. We want to make sure that what we do is different to every other firm, that is more valuable. The more value that you create, then firstly, it's the right thing to do. As professionals, our focus should be on how can we change our clients' lives. The more you can change their lives, the more value you can create, then it's the right thing to do for clients, but also they will willingly pay you higher prices. When we create more value and we price based on value, we have a win situation. We create more value for clients, we change clients' lives, and we get better rewarded. So that means we have to figure out how can we create more value. And I've been teaching for years that every service we offer, whether it's annual financial statements, tax returns, we need to figure out what can we do to make our service offering more valuable than ever before. And we should do this every year, review what we do. I run the Value Pricing Academy, and every single year, this time of year, we are always creating more value for our members, introducing new training, new resources, new ways to help accountants build more successful firms. We have to always create more value. Okay, number two, the second thing is we have to recognize that all customers want choice. And what that means is that if you ever have a single fixed price for something, that is the wrong price guaranteed. If you have a client that comes in wanting to buy a tax return service, they ask the price and you say, we can do your tax return for $1,500, then that is the wrong price guaranteed every single time. Now, the one good thing about doing that is giving a fixed price up front is it's fairer on the customer. At least we're giving them certainty with the price up front. But we're not value pricing. And one of the fundamentals of value pricing is that everybody is different. Everybody values things differently. And so we have to give people different prices. The trouble is we don't know what somebody values because, as my friend Ron Baker says, value is in the hearts and minds of customers. And we have to use techniques to figure out how do we understand what different people value. There's many ways of doing that. The one that I find is the most successful is to use what I call menu pricing. When I say that, it means giving people three choices. Just like all the most successful companies on the planet. If we go to Apple store to buy an iMac computer, you'll find a web page like this. They give you three choices. There is a power to giving different options. You should always present clients with a range of different options and prices. Why? Number one, because they want choice. They're all individuals. But number two, it helps you to capture the full value. Because you don't know which ones are going to buy the most expensive option. If you do not offer an expensive option, they can't pay you more money. This is something that you're probably aware of now because everywhere in the world, a lot of SaaS products all give you different choices. And so maybe you're doing this. But if you're not, it's essential. It makes a huge difference. And even if you are, there's a real science and an art to doing this. And many people in the profession who are now putting things like their different bookkeeping packages on their website, unfortunately, most people are doing it wrong and they're missing out on a huge opportunity. This is extremely powerful. Okay, so that's number two, is we have to give customers choice and embrace value pricing and find other ways of allowing different people to pay different prices. And number three, as I said earlier, is we have to understand why customers say that's too expensive. It's not because they are price sensitive, they are value sensitive. They say that as a knee-jerk reaction when they don't understand the value. And so number three is, and this is the most important thing about value pricing. Most people think value pricing is all about how do we come up with a price, a number. No, the most important skill to master with value pricing is how do we communicate the value? We need to figure out the words to say to build up the value. I think back to 1999 after I first met Ron and he explained value pricing to me. I had a service in my accounting firm, which was a tax planning service called Incorporations, where I would meet with a potential client or a client and they were trading as a sole practitioner partnership. And in the UK, as I guess it may be in Australia, if people have a profitable business but they're unincorporated, there can often be big benefits of moving from a sole trader business or partnership into a corporate entity, usually tax savings. And coming from a tax background, I was often recommending people move their trade into a corporate structure. And when I would go through my presentation, people would say to me, pre-19, that sounds great, Mark, what will it cost? And I would answer that with the price. Over again, people said to me, that's expensive. And the interesting thing was that the price that I gave them as a sole practitioner was lower than the price I gave them a few years earlier when I was the manager of an 8-partner accounting firm. And so I thought to myself, why are they saying that's expensive when it's a really cheap price? And it wasn't until 1999 when I discovered value pricing that I realized that I was making a huge mistake, which is never ever answer the price question with the price. You have to build up the value. You have to communicate the value. So I created, back in 1999, my first pricing system. It was essentially 3 sheets of paper. One was, I called it my 3-star incorporation service. One was my 4-star. The other was my 5-star. I created 3 different versions of that. I also changed the price of those 3 choices so that the entry-level one was more expensive than what I was charging. The middle one, I made it much higher because I knew I was too cheap. And I made the middle package what I was doing before, and then I had a premium version. And what I found was after that, most people chose the middle option, which was 3 times the price. And for the next 2 years, 2 things happened. Most people chose the middle option. I was making over 3 times the price on average. And the other interesting thing is nobody said that's expensive. Why? Because my 3 sheets of paper had on there the words that help communicate the value. And what I've been doing since is when I work with accounting firms in this 3rd step of communicating value, I recommend we need to have pricing systems. We need to have scripts, words that help us to build up the value when we're having a pricing conversation. And one of the things I create for my Academy members is pricing brochures. This happens to be someone's bookkeeping brochure I created for them. And this goes through with all the words we need to do to build up the value in a conversation. The value conversation is so critical. We have to say the right things in the right order. We have to build up the pain. We have to talk about what their life will look like afterwards. We have to present options, choices. We have to use words that build up the value. Communication is so important. So let's just remind you quickly of those. We need to create more value. Then we need to recognize that different people value things differently. So let's then create from that 3 different options, and then let's figure out how can we communicate, what words can we use to communicate value. So let's move across to how we can use ChatGPT to help us with this, because AI is so powerful. We can do some extraordinary things. I've been teaching ChatGPT for 18 months now, and one of the things that fascinates me is, and this I think is one of the most important skills that we need to start learning, is prompt engineering. Prompt engineering simply means how do we communicate with AI? And the reason prompt engineering is so important is because communication is, I would argue, the #1 soft skill you need as a business owner, because everything's about communication. If you have a team of people, leadership skills is about communication, how you communicate and motivate your team. If you want to attract more clients, then marketing is all about words. It's about communication. If you have meetings with potential clients and you want to turn them into a client, that's the sales presentation. That's all about communication. Communication is the #1 soft skill. And prompt engineering simply means how do we communicate with AI? And in this increasingly AI-driven world, figuring that out, how do we communicate to get better results, is so important. So one of the things that I recommend, if you really want to save hours of time and get better results and use AI, use tools like ChatGPT, or maybe you prefer Claude or Gemini, whatever it happens to be, then you need to figure out how do we better communicate to get better results. Because the better the prompts you write, the better the results you'll get. This is the world of prompt engineering. And one of the things I recommend is that you create a prompt library. You start to build a library of standard prompts that you can use for standard things you do in your accounting firm. So I've been doing this for the last year for the firms that I work with. And I now have a prompt library I share with my Value Pricing Academy members of over 100 prompts. This, by the way, on the screen is what's called Trello, and this is just a piece of software that is a great piece of software. You can get a free account. I simply am showing this because I use this as the prompt library. You could always have prompts on Notion or as Word documents, but I love Trello because it's visual. And we can create prompts for ideation. We can create prompts for marketing. We can create prompts for content creation, like writing blog posts, eBooks. We can create pricing prompts, which is what I'm going to show you in a second. The most powerful use of ChatGPT for accounting firms is business advisory. And there are dozens of things we can do, prompts we can use to get better results doing advisory. We can use it for financial data analysis. We can do text analysis, client communications. We can use it for creating our standard operating procedures, our systems. So today I'm going to focus on pricing. And we're going to look at a couple of prompts. I am going to go to ChatGPT, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at a couple of pricing things, but I'm going to, just to save some time, I just want to illustrate a few things of what we can do with prompts. So let's imagine that we want to create a brand new service for clients. And let's imagine that you want to offer a service. You know that one of the things most of your clients struggle with is they're in debt. They have debt. They're struggling to meet their payments, their cash flow, business debt, personal debt. They're struggling with debt, and you know that you've got some expertise to help them manage and reduce debt and turn their debt into wealth. So let's imagine you want to offer that as a brand new service offering, and you need to price it. You need a pricing system. We could have a prompt to help us come up with ideas for what we could possibly do for building a service such as that. I've called it Service Designer. So let me just grab this. I'm just going to grab from my Trello board the markdown. This is the prompt. I'm going to tell you a bit more about this in ChatGPT because I want to show you something I think you're going to find really cool. People love this. If I go to ChatGPT, rather than me sitting down and writing a prompt, which is fine. Sometimes writing a quick prompt is all we need. But if you've got commonly recurring services that you might do, you might be, for example, once a month creating a social media campaign. It might be every week wanting to write a blog post. It might be analyzing financial statements and creating a report for clients. It might be doing a SWOT analysis as part of business advisory. Anything that you might do frequently, then you are better off creating a standard prompt to do this because it can save you so much time. So if you've got a prompt library, if I just do Control V, that's going to paste this prompt into here. Now, this is a long prompt. Why is it a long prompt? Because we know from prompt engineering that the more clarity, specificity, the more guardrails we build into our prompt, the more predictable the outcome in terms of the format, the framework, the words, and so on. We will get a better result. And there are many things that we can build into our prompts to do exactly that. For example, I build into many of my prompts a section called examples. Building examples into your prompts is really powerful. Why? Because ChatGPT and all large language models, basically all they do is they predict what is the next word in the sequence when they're giving the result, the response. They are just predicting the outcomes. They are looking for patterns. And so examples really helps it to give you a better result. Here's the prompt. And there's a number of other things that are in here. So let me show you. The first thing, let me read this to you. I know a few people say it's a bit blurry. I'm going to go into the ChatGPT stuff really fast because I have a free bonus video training which goes into this in much, much more detail, which is coming your way very soon. I'm just giving you a flavor for what we can do with ChatGPT. When we create prompts, it says here, you are a product manager specializing in service design with expertise in customer-centric product development and feature prioritization. That's called giving ChatGPT a persona or role. One of the things we know from prompt engineering, from experiments, is that when we ask it to play a specific role, you get a better answer. If you want it to analyze financial data, ask it to play the role of a financial accountant. Why? Because in the systems prompt, the default role of ChatGPT is a helpful assistant. And if you ask it to analyze financial data, it will do that as a helpful assistant. It'll do a great job. But if you ask it to play the role of a financial accountant, it will give a more nuanced answer, a better answer. In this case, I wanted to be a product manager specializing in service design. I then have my task, and the task here is to design a service offering for. Now you're going to notice it then says in curly brackets, I want you to design a service offering for business type that service outcome. Provide detailed features and things the business type can do as part of this new service offering to service outcome. These are variables. This is one of the things that makes a prompt library so powerful. If I scroll to the bottom of my prompt, I have a section called variables. Here, it's just a heading, variables. And it says business type. You would just insert here, what is your business type? Are you a bookkeeping firm? Are you a small accounting firm, etc.? And what is the outcome you're looking to achieve? So let's just change the variables. And the point here is all we need to do when we have a prompt library with variables is all we have to do is change the variables. So I've put in here, my variables are business type is a small accounting firm. The outcome of my service is to help a client get out of debt and build wealth. So if I want to now run this prompt and I want to run a service for helping clients sell their business, and I want to think of some ideas to add more value to sell their business, I can just copy and paste this prompt, and I just have to change the variable at the end. That's the only thing I have to do, and then I can hit the button and run the prompt, and off it will go and do its thing of helping me design a service for, in this case, helping clients get out of debt. So that's the power of having standard prompts. We can have carefully written prompts that have all the key elements like a role, a persona, the task. We can be very specific in the details. We can put examples in there to guide their response. We can build templates and so on that will help us get the best results. And in this case, it's saying that if we want to build a service to help clients get out of debt, then we could do a debt assessment and financial health review. We could do debt prioritization and consolidation strategies. We could do custom budgeting and spending plans, debt repayment plans, and so on. These are all great ideas of things we might do if we want to build a debt consulting service for our clients. Okay, so this is how we could think of ways to add more value with a service. And I have this particular prompt for a brand new service. I have another prompt for improving existing services where you could put in your existing bookkeeping service and it will give you more ideas for how we can create more value. Okay, let me show you, we've got 10 more minutes before I answer a couple of questions. We've got 3 questions come in. Let me show you one more prompt. And then I've got some free resources for you, which I want to share with you. Okay, prompt. Let's now think about this idea of giving people different choices. Perhaps we are building our debt elimination service, and we've got these great ideas. Now what we want to do is think about how would we create 3 options, 3 different packages? What would we call those packages? What would we name them? Because bronze, silver, gold is lazy language. We can do something much better. So once again, we can turn to ChatGPT, and I'm going to use a prompt which I call package builder. So if I go to my prompt library and I just grab this standard prompt from the library, go to ChatGPT, I'll stay in the same chat and I'll hit Control V, that's paste it in here. And all I need to do is go to the very end and change the variables. And to save a bit of time, I've got these written down somewhere else rather than let me just do this. Oops. Let me just overwrite these with the variables for this example. Why didn't I do it? Let me just, didn't overwrite it, just delete it. So let's imagine, so ask for, the variables are, how many packages do we want? Now, I mentioned earlier 3, bronze, silver, gold, if you like. There is a reason why I always recommend you start with 3 packages, but there are some reasons when you get more advanced into menu pricing and value pricing, why you might want 4 or you might even want 5. So we'll do 3 packages. We're a small accounting firm. We're helping clients get out of debt and build wealth. And the features of our service are the list in the previous response. The reason it says these is because you could run this second prompt as a standalone for an existing service and you just cut and paste what you currently do, but I'm using this as a follow-up. So if I just go back to the prompt again, in this particular case, we're acting as a pricing consultant with expertise in tiered pricing. I'm asking ChatGPT, I want a detailed list of features for a service. So I'm going to give you a detailed list of features, which is this lot up here. And your task is to allocate those features to specific tiers. And the service offering will consist of number of tiers packages. So it knows that's a variable, and that will put in the 3 that we've put in at the end. Okay, so rather than having, the reason variables are so powerful is rather than having to go through and manually change every instance of this to a 3, which would take time with our prompt, it's just at the end, we just change the variables. We have a standard prompt that does the same thing. This prompt will take any service and help you build 3 packages. And so we have a series of steps. Step 1 I wanted to do is think about what is the most likely, think about the customer avatar. What will be 3 different customer avatars that will buy each of the 3 packages? And I've built into here, some of these prompts are long because I've built into here the things that I've been teaching for over 20 years with value pricing, how you build pricing systems. So I'm explaining to ChatGPT the 3 different types of buyers. Then I wanted to create 3 packages, and I'm giving it a template. Templates are really powerful because when you build in a template, it gives a structure, you'll get consistency. This is useful if, for example, you want ChatGPT to do a report for you. Perhaps you want it to do reports of analyzing year-end financial statements. So your prompt would have a template for how you want it to lay out that report. If you've got standard prompts for answering emails, then your template would be, how do you structure an email? The template would specify that you start with hi or good morning or hello and so on, the structure. Templates are really powerful. So this is my template for how I want it to give me the information I wanted. I wanted to give me a title. I wanted to give me some different customer avatars. I wanted to give me some suggested names. Sorry, some details of the avatars. I want some suggested names for my packages, and I wanted to tell me which of the features to put in each of the packages. Okay, so I'm being very specific in the prompt because I know I'll get a really good outcome. That's why the prompts are long. There's also examples in here to guide the response. So all I need to do is, and bear in mind, if I hadn't been talking and giving you commentary, you've probably seen I could do these 2 things, build this debt elimination service in a matter of probably less than 5 minutes. Just 2 prompts, copy and paste, put in the variables, and then run the prompt. So it's telling me here, first of all, that there are 3 potential clients that might buy my debt elimination service. There's the price buyer, they're price-sensitive clients who need essential debt management services and basic guidance to reduce debt. Important factors: affordability, essential support, no frills. We have a standard buyer whose clients who seek a balance between cost and value. They want a blend of essential and value-added items with reasonable pricing. And if we go to premium buyer, clients prioritizing premium tailored services with advanced support and long-term wealth building tools. We need to think about who are the different buyers because we build our 3 packages so that each package is relevant to a particular type of buyer. So then it comes up with the suggested packages, and it's suggesting that for our price buyer, we might do a debt assessment and financial review, a debt prioritization strategy, custom budgeting and spending plans, and customized debt repayment plans. It's then suggesting our standard buyer will do all of the features in there, plus possibly helping negotiate with creditors, debt consolidation advisory, and so on. Premium services, we could also do things like personal financial coaching sessions, income enhancement strategies, credit score monitoring and improvement. These are great ideas for building up a service for debt elimination with 3 options. And then what we can do is we could then run a further series of prompts to then build up how do we communicate the value, what are the words we should use, and so on. Let me show you one more very quick thing. I mentioned that when it comes to value pricing, the most important skill is communicating value using the right words. And one of the things that I do for accounting firms is help them with the words by creating pricing brochures. Now, these used to take me 2 to 3 days to write because words are so important. This one is a remuneration planning service. I created this the other day. It's a service you could offer to clients for how to help them get their money out of a corporate in the most tax efficient way, whether it's dividends, bonuses, salaries, pensions, and so on. You could offer that as a tax planning service, and you might want to build a complete system. And so I created this brochure with really powerful language and words, and I did this in less than 60 minutes. How did I do this in less than 60 minutes? Because what I created for Value Pricing Academy members, if I go back to here, is I created a series, I created a series of prompts for creating a brochure that you just run, like we've done 2 of the prompts. We could then run a prompt that then creates the words, describe the benefits, to build out our packages, and then we can use a series of prompts to then build up the brochure to communicate the value step by step with really powerful words, because the prompts have built into each prompt examples, templates, and best practice for the strategies, the techniques, the words that we want it to do to better communicate value. Okay, I have some free resources for you. Firstly, we could spend ages talking about pricing and ChatGPT. And so what I thought I'd do is, if this has whetted your appetite, then I did a session for my Value Pricing Academy members, a 90-minute session in August, which they voted as my #1 training. And I taught it at a very high level, a deep level on how we can use ChatGPT to help our clients with pricing. Not just ourselves, but also how we can do it with our clients. One of the things I find is that most business owners have no idea how to price. We can add huge amounts of value to our clients by helping them with their pricing. And so all of these prompts I've just shown you, these 2 prompts I've shown you, you could run these for a client's business and help them to build out their packages, add more value, and build a really high value price consulting service. So let me just share the link to this. It's a 90-minute training broken down to 2 videos. I'm just putting the link into the chat. So there it is, that's part 1. And when you've watched part 1, there'll be a link to get part 2. Really powerful. It's on my YouTube channel. It's an unlisted video. There's the link to it, because I know that if you've enjoyed this so far, this is going to go much deeper and explain it with greater clarity, because I have 90 minutes. Okay, so check that out. The other thing I've got for you is, if you are new to ChatGPT, I've assumed a certain level of knowledge, but if you want more information about ChatGPT, then I have an ebook. And the last thing I want to share with you is, I've mentioned the Value Pricing Academy a few times. If you are interested in finding out more, then I have a page. I have 3 levels of the Value Pricing Academy, so you can choose which one's right for you if you want to join the Academy. And I'm going to give you a link to this page. And if you like the idea of learning more about value pricing, business advisory, and if you want to learn how to use ChatGPT more and get access to my prompt libraries, then go and check out the Value Pricing Academy. If you've got any questions, I'll put our support email address there. So please reach out to support if you have any questions.